are you, Katelyn?
I'm doing wonderful. Thank you so much for having me today.
Yeah, I have so appreciated being on a couple of conversations with you in the last week or so. And I have to say, I'm so impressed with your clarity and your poise. So this is a conversation to just really get to know you better.
And I just say that is such an honor coming from you because I really admire you and your work. So thank you.
Oh, well, thank you. First question is, I just want to know more about like your background. You're this extraordinary 21-year-old. You're Miss Virginia.
Yeah, so a little bit about me is I am a 21-year-old college student. I'm a fourth year mental health student as well, and I'm only 2 classes away from having my bachelor's degree, and I'm really excited for that. And after that, I will be pursuing my master's in forensic psychology. And after that, I would like to go to law school. What I do right now is I'm a court-appointed special advocate for abused and neglected children. And I also help run a nonprofit here in Prince William County. And so what we do is we teach free prenatal education with the hopes of reducing the maternal mortality rate, because we know that Virginia has one of the highest. And our 3 moms die 3 times more likely than our white mothers, and that's not okay. And so that's what I do in my day-to-day. And as you mentioned, I am also Miss Virginia, and my platform on that is promoting advocacy amongst young people. And that's really important to me because I think that whenever young people use their voices, we can really change the world together. A little bit about my background is I come from a military family, several generations of military, and I'm really proud of that. Growing up, I lived all over the world. My favorite place I lived in was Japan. And before that, I lived in Georgia and Virginia at one point. And then after I moved from Japan, we lived all over the Gulf Coast. And I really loved that. But now we're here in Virginia, and I couldn't be happier because Prince William County is so diverse and we have so many different people, so many different backgrounds, and I feel so at home. And I think that's because I traveled all over and I met so many different people. So to see that in Prince William County, I couldn't feel better.
I just want to ask you to say more about like what it means for you to be Miss Virginia.
So to me, it means having one of the greatest honors, and because I get to represent the incredible Commonwealth, and I'm really proud of that. I think I couldn't be more prouder to represent my state, especially on the national stage in October in Las Vegas. What I personally do as Miss Virginia is I try to promote advocacy. And so what that looks like is I've been working with a lot of different groups of young people to see how they can best apply their voices and how we can really help empower them. So for example, I visited the schools pre-COVID-19, and I met with a group of incredible young women, and I talked to them about the issues that were impacting their daily lives. And it's so heartbreaking to me that one of the biggest issues here is bullying. And I can completely relate to that because when I was younger, I was bullied. And so I talked to them about ways they can really be advocates for change in their schools, and also what I could do to help them. Oh, I can't hear you.
When you were bullied, like where were you? Were you in the United States, or this is when you were abroad?
So I was in middle school, and it was really difficult for me because they bullied me because of the way that I looked. And come to find out, I have an autoimmune disorder, and so I really couldn't have controlled that any way, shape, or form.
What do you mean by the way you look?
I hate to say it, but kids were very mean to me because I was overweight. And so that really bothered me that people even considered the way that I looked as a young person. And to go back to your original question, this happened abroad because I did grow up over there. But I'm really thankful that I was able to have that experience looking back on it today, because as a young person in middle school and high school, I was really able to find my voice. And I went on to do a lot of body positivity work. And so I'm grateful for what I've gone through and how it shaped me to be this person today.
So that's amazing. That's extraordinary. I mean, one of the things that I found out about you recently is that you actually had COVID, and that it was actually a very serious case. And so this is one of the reasons, like, I wanted to talk to you today, is I'm trying to figure out how we can get through this period, you know, so because I have moments when I'm like, it's unbearable. It's too much. And I get so afraid of getting sick or having people in my life get sick. So, but you actually have been through it. You know, you're only 21, you've been through it, and it hasn't stopped you at all. So can you tell me more about, like, what happened? Can you just give us details, like what happened when you got sick?
So I knew something was very wrong the first day I started feeling bad. My entire body hurt. I had a horrible fever, and it was really difficult to breathe. And I'd like to share with you guys this. It's my medical alert bracelet. And basically it tells the entire world that I have really severe asthma and really bad allergies. And so I knew on the first day this wasn't any of that. And I became really scared because I thought, oh my goodness, we're hearing so much about COVID-19. What if I was the one who had it? Because doctors were telling us, if you have asthma, COVID-19 is really not going to be good for you particularly. And so a few days passed and I wasn't getting better. And so it just started all going downhill basically. And I connected with my doctor and she said, yeah, this is COVID-19. And then I did seek treatment and all of that, but it was really difficult for me to recover, particularly because I developed pneumonia and anemia. And I think that that goes back to my autoimmune disorder and to my severe asthma, because it is very difficult to recover when you have asthma. And so I'm very, very lucky to be sitting here with you today, because we know across our country, so many have lost their lives. And so I am proud to tell this story.
So you were hospitalized? Were you hospitalized?
No, I was not hospitalized. I did go to the hospital several times, but I felt safe going home because my mom is an RN, and my doctors were able to send me home with I'm trying to think of the word, a nebulizer, that's it, with a nebulizer, so I could do treatments regularly. And then they sent me home with so many different medicines. And I thought, okay, my mom is here. She knows exactly what to look out for because she's an RN. And my doctor also kept me under constant surveillance from like calling me and all of those kind of things.
Wow. And have you fully recovered, or do you still kind of have lingering effects?
Yeah, I do believe I fully recovered. And if I didn't feel that way, I absolutely would be isolating in my bedroom today. But I do believe I'm fully recovered. And again, I am proud to say that. It took me a good bit of time to recover, but I'm really glad that I'm at this point today.
So can you share, like, maybe what are some things that you learned from that experience?
The main thing that I learned is that our healthcare system needs to be fixed. There's a lot of holes in our healthcare system, and it's not working for everybody right now. Because I had COVID-19 in the earlier days, it was very, very expensive for me to get tested. And it was also difficult for me to get tested. And so they were having the COVID-19 clinics back then, and it was really difficult to become tested. And I kept thinking to myself, wow, we have to do better because this is literally killing people and we're not giving them adequate care that they need. And my hospital bill was so expensive. And I'm a 21-year-old college student. I can't afford $1,000 testing and very expensive hospital bills. It's just difficult. On a regular day, I can hardly afford my inhalers. My inhaler alone is $100. And so I figured we have to do better. And I really wanted to speak up about that. And so after I was recovered, I gave back. I started helping at the hospitals and I started going to COVID-19 testing sites to help out the doctors and the nurses who are actually doing the testing. And so I would help them in the smallest of ways through traffic control and through filling out so like people to like put in their information. And so I was there helping them do that so that they would not have to do that. And ultimately we can have more people tested.
So what do you think really needs to change? Like, do you think, say, something like Medicare for all is the answer? Like, what would you like to see changed?
So I cannot give you the answer right now on how we can fix it, but what I want to see is, I know, is more healthcare access and affordability. Personally, going back to my nonprofit, we teach this education, this life-saving education, because moms and families literally cannot afford it. And so I do think that we need to see complete reform, and it needs to be accessible to everybody, because nobody should not be able to afford something that can save their life. That's just wrong.
Yeah, I mean, with COVID, I think we're really seeing, for me, what I see is that I don't think we can do without some sort of universal health care.
Right.
It really shouldn't be a matter of how much money you have in your bank account or what kind of job you have, because it affects all of us. When somebody in our community is sick, it affects all of us. And so I feel like after COVID, it should be clear to our politicians that we've got to move towards universal health care. And every time I see that right now, just, you know, how many people are going to lose like unemployment benefits, how many people may get evicted, you know, there's just going to be like more suffering and you know, people not being able to go to the hospital, get any care if they get sick, you know. Anyway, so so that's I just wanted to share with you that I'm very worried for just so many people who are going to start to lose homes and their benefits. I'm wondering if, you know, I mean, I'm titling this "How Do We Survive and Thrive, Even Thrive During This Time?" And, you know, so you've been sick, you're dealing with this pandemic. I mean, can you share, like, what are some ways like you're coping personally? I mean, do you have bad days when you're like, oh my God, this is just too much?
Yes,
and I'm overwhelmed.
Bad days. And I'm not afraid to say that because I believe everybody has bad days. And especially as a mental health student, I can tell you how true that is. And it's so important that we take care and we talk about our mental health right now, because this experience is traumatic on our entire country. And everybody deals with that in different ways. And right now we're all having a lot of anxiety, trauma, and depression just from COVID-19. We're literally isolated in our homes. We can't see our friends or family. And so I do believe that we have to talk about that. And personally for me, I found that the best way for me to cope is to give back and to do anything that I can, even from my home. And so, for example, yesterday I shared with you that I've been writing postcards for the upcoming election. And another thing that I've been doing is teaching free prenatal educational classes on Zoom. And then another thing I've been doing is advocacy from my home. So that looks like emails, calls, text to people on so many different issues. And then when I am able to go out, I do like to do volunteer work. I've been helping a lot of people, helping with like the hunger in the food pantries. And so that's, I found it so amazing, because going back to what you were saying, people literally cannot afford their food right now. And so it is our responsibility to help them out, because our community it's essential. We have to help anybody that any way we can. And then I've also been volunteering, like, as I mentioned, at COVID-19 testing sites. And so I've just been really trying to find out how I can best help other people, because I have the heart of an advocate. And so for me, that's how I can feel the best during this time. And I would advise anybody that if there is something that you love, whether that be knitting, watching TV shows, studying, anything, do it. And do not be afraid if you have to do that a lot, because right now the priority during COVID-19 is ensuring we're not all sick, and also ensuring that we have good mental health and emotional wellness, because again, this is a very difficult time for our entire country. So we have to do anything that we can to survive, each of us.
Mm-hmm. So your friends, like people your age, I mean, do you think many of them are really just in a state of freak out, or are they able to cope? Because I find it difficult, but I can imagine for young people that would be so confusing and discouraging, right? And yes, I'm just wondering, like, how your friends are. How are they doing?
Yeah, this is a very difficult time for young people and everybody, but I think especially young people, because this is something that we've never seen before. And so as Miss Virginia, the very first thing that I did was create a social media campaign targeted at young people, so that they could hear from our legislators, our healthcare professionals, mental health professionals, our teachers, community members, so they could put in their own words what COVID-19 was or is. And I also asked them, how can young people help during this time? What can we do to help our mental health and take care of each other? And so that was something that I did, because I knew right away that this would hurt young people a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And personally, I believe that all my friends, they're coping in different ways. We all are dealing with this differently. I've seen reactions. Some people, they refuse to believe it's even happening. Yeah. And not my friends, but some people my age, they also, it's confusing, and it's really difficult for people to grasp the idea still of this happening. And then some people, they are able to cope, but I think that this looks different on everybody, because it's something we've never seen before, and something we could never have been prepared for.
Mm-hmm. Let me ask you something. For people, one of the reasons why people are having a hard time right now, it's not just the pandemic, but feeling like we're in such a divided country, where it's so hard to relate to people who seem to live in a different reality. Like, for example, as you brought up, they're in denial about COVID, or they're voting for somebody that you find horrifying, or they say things that just are based on misinformation.
Right.
But you can't talk to them, you can't get through to them. So I'm just wondering, like, how do you deal with that? Because you're very political, and I know that you're actually probably going to run for office. Is that right?
Yes. It is right. I will be the youngest Democratic woman elected in United States history to the House or Senate.
Wow. So you're running as a delegate?
Yes.
Right? Mm-hmm. That's fantastic. And have you declared?
I have not officially declared yet. I'm still exploring it, but I'll say the next few weeks are going to be very exciting. But going back to your original point, because this is something I believe so firmly in, and something that my campaign will represent, is togetherness. especially during COVID-19, we have to come together, regardless of your political beliefs. This is a political issue, but that's not what it's really about. It's about taking care of each other and ensuring we can all see the next day right now.
But how do you actually talk to people who seem to be in a different reality?
When people are so set in their mindsets, I believe one of the best things to do is listen, and then maybe even walk away saying, I agree to disagree.
I would say that there's a lot of anxiety around just having these difficult conversations.
Exactly, yeah.
And I'm sure when you're running for office, like, you don't have a choice. You have to go out and talk to voters.
Yeah.
Right. And so I know for me, when I feel triggered by somebody who say still supports Trump, because I find that difficult to accept that people still, I know they do, but I still, it takes me a bit to like get used to talking to someone or engaging with someone who's defending and even supporting him. I mean, do you find that hard?
It's hard. I think it's difficult for everybody because, like me, I was sick with COVID-19. And so whenever somebody says, it's not real, it can't get me because I'm not at high risk, I can tell you, it's very upsetting to me because I lived through that. And I'm really scared to catch it again because of how difficult recovery was. And I think going back to saying, okay, I agree to disagree. Because I know people personally who still refuse to accept that this is happening, or they won't wear masks and they won't social distance. And I think that's really difficult to even understand. Why would you continue doing those things if those are part of the solution? Mm-hmm. And so it is very personal to me, but all we can do our best is to listen, understand, maybe not understand completely, but understand where they're coming from, and hope that we can talk to them into a productive conversation where maybe they will do better.
Mm-hmm. We had a conversation the other night about how to get young people to vote. Mm-hmm. And again, that's something that people find challenging, trying to get young people interested and engaging them. So what do you do? Like, what is the pitch you make to young people and your peers about why it's so important? How do you persuade them?
Yeah, so I like to tell everybody that your vote is your superpower, because that's true, it is. And I feel like young people especially, we have to talk to them about these things, and they have to feel heard, and most importantly, they have to feel wanted. Because for a very long time, young people were dismissed from even having political conversations. And so for me, I'm really taking that and I'm saying, you know what? Young people do deserve a seat at the table. And our age is just another factor about us. It has nothing to do with our abilities or how we can comprehend things. And so I think we can also get young people to vote if they see representation that looks like them. And so we need more young people in office. We have some of the brightest and incredible minds in our country. We have to utilize them, because if we do not utilize them and make them feel wanted and heard and listened to, then we're really doing a disservice to our entire country.
Mm-hmm. I would love to work with you on trying to get young people engaged in these conversations and making sure that they are heard. So let's definitely plan on having more discussions with young people and your peers, because I mean, personally, I feel really sorry. Yeah. I feel sorry for young people that they're going through such an extraordinary, difficult time, and that and I feel guilty. Like, these things that happened on like my watch. Yeah. And so we kind of I kind of contributed unwittingly to like creating the situation that, you know, young people like my nieces and nephews,
Yeah.
my nephew just graduated from high school today. My niece is graduating in December from college. And I just want to apologize to them. Like, oh my gosh.
You shouldn't do it personally.
Well, I feel bad. I mean, I can think of instances, like I'm gonna give you an example. I think of an instance that I regret is the 2000 election
Yeah.
when these votes were being counted in Florida, and then they stopped the vote from being counted, and then the Supreme Court made a decision about who was going to be our president. I was just thinking back, like, why didn't we protest
Right. I completely
in mass?
Mm-hmm.
Why didn't we go out there
agree.
in mass,
Yes.
right, and protest? Because it was wrong. And I think that maybe Al Gore wouldn't have conceded so readily if he saw there were just millions of people
Yes.
rejecting this. And
Yes.
so that was like such a pivotal moment.
Mm-hmm.
And it was silent. I was in New Jersey at the time, and there was just silence when it was announced, right? Anyway, so I regret that. I regret that so many of us fell for the lie about the Iraq War, you know. And yeah, so I can just think of these moments when I'm just like, all those things led to where we are right now, and I feel horrible.
Yeah, going from that, you say you can recall a lot of moments that led up to right now. For me, I feel like if you are a young trailblazer in any aspect, people are going to always undermine you. And for me, I really understood that people were going to undermine me because of my age alone. When I began college at 16, I was the youngest student that my state had ever seen. And I thought to myself, I deserve to be here just as much as anybody else. I graduated high school. Heck, I graduated high school early. And so why don't I deserve a seat at the table? And my peers and my teachers, they all treated me so differently. And they treated me bad at some points. And so I really said to myself, okay, I can't change their reaction, but I can change how I react to things. And, you know, young people, we should never be made to feel less than, especially if we got there. Because I got to college early and they said, you know what, no. They said, you shouldn't be doing this. And for me, that really sparked a fire in me for promoting advocacy amongst young people and making sure that we use our voices for good and for change. Mm-hmm. And so there's several instances I can recall in my life like that one, where people told me, no, you can't do that. You shouldn't be doing this yet. I currently serve as the youngest CASA, court-appointed special advocate in Virginia. And when I began, people said, are you sure you can do this? And it just makes me think, yes, I can, and I want to. And so it really breaks my heart, but it's something that we have to break the stigma around.
Mm-hmm. Wow. It's really admirable. You're my role model. You're my hero. That's amazing.
Thank you.
That you don't accept. No, that's really extraordinary. Let's talk about this upcoming election. How are you seeing this election right now?
This election, I cannot say how important it is. It's so important. It's so important that every single person go out and vote and bring somebody with you to make sure that we are having those votes come out. I feel anxiety and I feel bad whenever I think of the election not going the way that I hope it does. But something my mom has always told me is those feelings will never change the outcome. You have to act on those feelings. And so for me, that's me writing postcards. That's me phone banking. That's me taking up my advocacy to the next level.
The last thing I want to ask you is, like, do you have a call to action for people, not just young people, but something that you would like to see in this world and what you would like for people to do?
I would want everybody in this world to know your voice is so important, and one person can change the entire world. And so what I want to leave people with is know you are valued and you can make an entire difference. You can change everything with your voice.
So excited to work on more conversations with you. Really excited. Invite you and your brother and your mother and others that you find to be good conversation partners for you. Like, let's all work together to see if we could have more productive, constructive conversations right now so that we don't fall into despair. And we will talk again soon, okay?
Absolutely. Have a great day.
You've been listening to Conversations About a Way Forward from Count Me In to Win and The Talk on Main Street. To learn more, find us on Facebook at The Talk on Main Street.